Yeah! Wait a sec. Whoa! Look at that. What was that? Do that again.
How is everyone?
No, you did this. You like a whole thing. Amy Nicholson, ladies and gentlemen, did a whole thing.
I learned this from Queen Elizabeth.
Huh?
I learned Queen Elizabeth. She gives lessons in fingers.
Why is she still alive, by the way? What?
Well, she's
Queen
still
Elizabeth
alive.
is like 87,000 years old, isn't she?
Well, yeah, she got bitten by a vampire back in like 1914. Before she came out of the closet as being born.
Really?
She was an unborn vampire fetus.
Soon to be a major
It
motion
happens.
picture. It's unbelievable.
With 2 parts.
By the way, before we start and we get into Green Lantern, right? We get into Cars 2. Amy saw Cars 2. Hey, I didn't even see Cars 2.
It's amazing.
That's how up to date and fresh Amy Nicholson is. She saw Cars 2. I didn't even see it. We want to address one thing. We want to talk about Wade. Now, I like talking about Wade because I like making fun of Wade. But as you know, over the past few weeks, Wade has not been here. And Wade has been replaced with a succession of fantastic guest hosts, including Brent Simon, Luke Thompson, Amy Nicholson is here this week, very excited. But I do want to say that if you read the Facebook page, you know that Wade had posted something fairly extensive, where he essentially announced that he will no longer be on the show. Now, there is a possibility that he may come back at some point because he loves doing the show, he loves the crew, he loves you guys. But the fact is that from a personal and professional standpoint, Wade felt as if he had to step back, and we had to respect that because, again, as we've talked about before, we'll talk about later, everybody here works for free. And we work for free because we love it, because we love entertaining you guys, talking about movies. But we've done this long enough where for Wade, there was some personal, professional considerations, monetary considerations, where he really had to step back. And we had to respect that, and that's fine. So maybe at some point, Wade will return, but quite frankly, I would be surprised. I mean, he may come back at some point as a one-off because maybe he wants to be a rant monkey again. Maybe the next Zack Snyder film that comes out, he'll want to come back and do a whole song and dance, whole angry song and dance for you. But until then, he's no longer with the show. And he did a fantastic job, and we love Wade, and you can continue to read his material on boxoffice.com. By the way, speaking of boxoffice.com, Amy Nicholson also with boxoffice.com. And Amy Nicholson also with the LA Film Critics Association.
I am. And also I want to say, I know the Wade thing's very hard for you, so if you need to call me Wade today, I'm totally okay with that.
I won't be doing that. I just want to say. So here's the thing. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, it's good to be here, everybody.
Welcome, Amy. Now, we have you were actually here for, this is a red letter day.
It is.
It is. First of all, we have Colin Hanks is here. Colin Hanks, everybody. Here's the thing with the Colin Hanks. Now, Colin's doing the whole crowdsourcing thing, which you want to talk about later. And I'm telling you, you got to back up the truck for this documentary he wants to do. This documentary is essentially my childhood set to film. So he has to do this thing, and as a crowdsourcing initiative, he needs your help to do it. So we want to bring him on, talk about the doc. You'll be so impressed with it. Talk about crowdsourcing. So Colin Hanks is coming on later on. Now, Mike, crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the crowdsourcing was because I don't know anything about anything.
You don't even know what Facebook is.
I really don't.
You're still on Friendster, right?
I'm on Friendster.
I think you just joined.
Please friend me. Somebody friend me.
Yes, crowdsourcing, which Colin will discuss when he's on. We are also going to start doing, which we talked about last show. I believe we're going to do Kickstarter. We're trying to get that going. If not, it'll be Indiegogo. We're going to figure out that next couple of days. We have to first send our proposal to them, then they're going to approve us or not. So in the next couple of days, please check on Kickstarter and search for Streaming Garage. Check Indiegogo, search for Streaming Garage. One of those we will be crowdsourced through, which means we need money to do a second season. We've done, I want to say over 125 hours of programming, right? And nobody's been paid.
And by the way, some of those hours were actually pretty good.
Yeah, not bad, right?
That's what I'm saying.
No, I mean, not this show.
But not this show, maybe, but other
been
shows.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Super Scary Horror Theater's pretty good.
Funny.
Stripped Down Live.
Stripped Down Live, funny.
We broke Fits in the Tantrums. Before they were on Leno, Letterman, Kimmel, Conan, they were on our show. And then within 2 months after doing this show, they did all those shows. That's all I'm saying.
Wow, look at that, ahead of the curve.
We have broken bands. We have broken bands. So yeah, so we're gonna crowdsource and we're gonna offer lots of cool things. You know, a lot of it is we give away. You know, I know a lot of people give away DVDs or T-shirts. We're gonna do that, and we're also gonna give away ways for you to be on our shows. So I'll just put it that way. Like maybe you can have all the Byron or Burns. We're gonna give away for a certain amount of money backstage pass, which gives you access to our cameras an hour or two before we go live. You will have a URL that shows us live as we get ready for everything. So that's kind of cool. So we're going to have a lot of interesting things like that. So we'll need your guys' help to do another season. We'll raise money.
Well,
Corey will be nude.
Hang on for a second. So you're saying that if somebody donates a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
they can actually see what it is that we do
Yes.
before the show.
Yes, we'll have the cameras running live.
You mean like the 2 hours of makeup this guy's in?
Exactly. Yeah.
Me
You'll see
running
Mark in
around-
the makeup chair.
Me running
It'll be
around
great.
nude, harassing
Yeah.
the crew, all that sort of stuff.
Yoda when he comes.
Meanwhile, watch us on iTunes, Roku, TiVo, and all that fun stuff. And there you go. Let's do the show.
What? Mike just said let's do the show. You know what that means?
Roll the
Good night, everyone.
No.
This weekend in movies, here it is, folks. Yeah. I got the whole game show hosting happening tonight.
You're peppy.
I am peppy tonight because we didn't do a show last week.
So you got this stored up energy?
I got the stored up energy. I got to do the whole game show hosting. All right, so here's what we have for you. I'm over here. Here's what we have for you. We have the Green Lantern, Super 8, a terrific doc called Conan O'Brien Can't Stop, and then Amy will talk about Cars 2.
The most epic movie-going experience of the summer. Starring
someone
Cars.
blurb that.
And let's mention also the Conan O'Brien. This week you're going to review it. In 2 weeks, because we are a bi-weekly show now, the director of the documentary is going to be on the show.
Yes, Rodman Flender, who
Yeah.
directed Conan O'Brien Can't Stop, will be a guest on the show in 2 weeks, which is fantastic, which means I better have liked the film.
Yeah. Hopefully you liked it. We'll
I
find
really-
out
it's
this
true,
week.
you know,
Otherwise, I'm not posting it.
There might be a reason why we're talking about the movie this week and having him on in 2 weeks. Get some distance between my hatred of the movie. No, it's not true. All right, so let's do Green Lantern. Now, Green Lantern is do we have to talk about Green Lantern being based on a comic book? Do people know this? Come on, let's have a show of hands.
What?
Green Lantern based on a comic book. It's Hal Jordan. He's an egotistical flyboy.
I thought it was based on an ancient Sanskrit poem.
It's based on an ancient Sanskrit poem about Ryan Reynolds plays Hal Jordan, who I think is the most famous Green Lantern in the decades that Green Lantern's been around in DC. And in the film, he plays, just like in the comic, an egotistical flyboy who winds up coming into possession of this green ring that gives him intergalactic powers. And when he joins the Green Lantern Corps, he joins a group of crazy Star Wars space cantina aliens who each patrol a certain section of the galaxy. It's based on a true story. I don't know if you know that. It's actually a documentary, just like Colin Hanks' thing's a documentary. It's the same thing. They each patrol a different section of the galaxy, and of course there's a big giant monster who's on the way to Earth, and Hal Jordan, the egotistical flyboy who has to get over his father issues in order to fight this monster and save the world. So before Amy and I talk about whether we like the film or not, let's take a look at a clip.
I've been sent to welcome you here.
And here is?
Welcome to our. This planet has been our home for countless millennia. Since time immemorial, the Green Lantern Corps has served as the keepers of peace, order, and justice throughout the universe. To be chosen to join its ranks is the highest of honors and the greatest of responsibilities.
Yeah, that part I heard about.
We're going to fly now.
Fly.
Absolutely.
All right. I can do that.
Join me.
I have to say that I believe that Green Lantern is going to be the tipping point after which people will start to get sick of superhero movies. You know, there are the major players like Spider-Man and Superman and Batman, and there's been terrific films made out of all those characters. Now you're getting into some of the B players. In the Marvel side, you've got Iron Man, and here now you've got Green Lantern. And the problem with Green Lantern, which I liked a little bit, but basically didn't like, it's really top down. First of all, there's Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds is a smug actor who the guy is a cold fish to me, and it's okay.
Wow.
It's okay to be smug when you're playing an egotistical test pilot. That's fine. My problem with him is that he has absolutely no sincerity. you know, he just has no warmth. The guy has no emotionality.
I know him personally, he's a nice guy.
And that might be true. I am not reviewing his personality.
He's Canadian.
Huh? Now I hate him. Canada's America's hat. I don't know if you know that.
You're saying you don't like the riots?
What? Huh? Oh, what was that about the riots? As we digress, what was the riots
I don't know,
about,
but I'm
Mike
blaming
Rodman?
Green Lantern for him.
Well, I think if Ryan Reynolds had shown up and said, guys, chill, I think it would have ended.
Who of Green Lantern said
Yeah,
that?
no, just Ryan Reynolds himself. He's got that much charm.
You know, I have to say, Ryan Reynolds, he's pretty dreamy. It's true, he is dreamy. And I'm saying that as a heterosexual male.
He's got like 12 abs. I mean, they stack up
Well,
everywhere.
in the movie, which is basically all CGI, including the costume, each ab muscle is actually independently defined and has like its own independent movement. It's a very strange costume. Anyway, what I'm saying is that Ryan Reynolds has absolutely no sincerity, no emotionality to him. So you've got this story about a flyboy who's very egotistical, and it turns out that that egotism is actually hiding a certain amount of fear. So he needs to get over that fear. But he just can't convey that. And when you look at somebody like Ryan Reynolds, and then you look at somebody like Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man, how much did Robert Downey Jr. make Iron Man what it was? That guy was, Tony Stark is just as egotistical as Hal Jordan, but somehow Robert Downey Jr., who's a great two-time Oscar-nominated actor, can make that work. Ryan Reynolds can't. So you start with him. Then you go to Blake Lively. Blake Lively plays Carol Ferris, who is in some sort of ill-defined relationship with Hal Jordan. I believe they were childhood friends who slept together at some point. Now I'm not quite sure. It's not really made all that clear. She's also kind of a cold fish. She's a TV actress who's not quite at major league level yet. I didn't think she was all that great. The two of them have no chemistry together. The best thing in the movie is Peter Sarsgaard, who plays Henry Hammond, who winds up falling under the influence of the main alien, and he turns into this big crazy alien with like a big gigantic elephant man, Rocky Dennis head. He's terrific. He's terrific. Otherwise, I have to say, I just didn't like this film. Now, Amy Nicholson, here's what happens. So last night at the movie, Wade was sitting next to me, right? Our friend Tim Cogshell sitting next to him, and sitting next to me on the other side, Amy Nicholson.
Surprise.
Now, when the...
I just sit all the way in the back row. These guys are cranks. They don't sit anywhere near a movie.
Honestly, because I like to fall asleep. So you're sitting next to me, and the moment the movie's over, you leave. It's over. Bam. You're out the door. So I'm thinking, wow, she probably hated it. Like, get me out of here, right? Well, am I right or am I wrong?
Well, first, let me jump in. First, I need to make sure that we're very clear on one thing. You're calling Ryan Reynolds a flyboy, but I want to make it clear to everybody he's a pilot, and he's not, like, say, a backup dancer for In Living Color, just so our terminology is correct here.
I believe flyboy works for those who are, of a
like
certain vintage.
People who
and knows what that used to
remember
be.
bazooka chewing gum. Yeah.
You kids today. Back when I was a kid, in the 1870s, flyboy meant something different.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. Like, pretty hardcore, especially on the Ryan Reynolds factor.
Her first review? She's kicking my butt? What's that about? Get her out of here!
I think this movie works, and I think the only reason why it works is because Ryan Reynolds underplays it with just this casualness. He comes across like a real human. Like, if you actually did discover a ring, how would you play it? And there's a little bit of mockery to it. There's a little bit of puffery. He's excited about it. Like, he somehow manages to make walking around in this like laser suit, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world, seem completely natural. In fact, I could see you doing the exact same thing if a ring came to you.
No, here's the thing. If a ring came to me, I would do exactly what this movie didn't do, which is I would freak out. I would have this amazing sense of wonder. I would be incredibly thrilled, horribly scared, and then I would put on the ring. With Ryan Reynolds, he does his little thing where maybe there's like one look to the camera. He's like, oh my God, what's that? And then he just does it. He just puts the ring on.
Well, I mean, to be honest, if like an alien was going to propose to you with this green ring, wouldn't you say yes, just right away? Just slip that thing on your finger? But the other thing is, what I find really interesting about this, and I'm coming about it from a person who's not a comic book fan at all, I'm sick to death of them and I cannot wait for them to end. This one actually worked for me, and I was prepared for this to be the worst out of everything. I thought I could give Thor a pass because I'm really into like Vikings and blondes and, you know, guys with gigantic muscles who walk around. But this one, having no bone in this fight, caring nothing about the credibility of Green Lantern, I could care less if they name check every galaxy, which they kind of do at the beginning. It's like you're preparing to take a spelling test. It's all numbers and jargon and things like car-a-laga. But somehow, the way that everybody in that movie reacted, the way I really think a normal person would react in these circumstances was perfect. And I really like Blake Lively's character. Because you have a girl who the thing is, yes, they did sleep together. He's sort of trying to win her over. You get the sense he never really called again. But she gives him like a genuinely hard time. She's not just like the girl in this movie. She's not just like the bimbo. She makes him work for everything that happens in their romance. And I mean, she was a valid character, and I don't really appreciate the fact that she had to dye her hair brown from blonde in order to be taken seriously as a pilot in this movie. But other than that, I thought it was smart casting.
Interesting, very interesting. Because you know, you look at Iron Man, which is this movie's kind of equivalent, if there is one, and you look at Pepper Potts, the Gwyneth Paltrow character, and when you look at Gwyneth Paltrow, what she brings to a role that even in Iron Man is fairly underwritten, and I thought this role was underwritten too. You see what a real actress can bring to it, and then you look at Blake Lively, who will pretty much play what's on the page, and that's kind of it. She won't really elevate it at all. So I didn't really. I felt that the two of them didn't have a whole lot of chemistry to me. I felt that they were two cold people trying to kind of manufacture a relationship because that's what the movie requires. I didn't really care about them. That's the thing. I didn't care about them.
Really? Not even like when he swoops under a balcony and he's wearing his mask and he's kind of mimicking being a superhero and disguises his voice a little bit and she just calls him out straight away?
There was a cute line where she says, actually, there is a cute line about the mask, how, because the one thing with superheroes is that the idea that somebody can hide their secret identity when they're wearing a mask that covers their eyes,
Exactly.
which nobody understood. There's a funny line about that. But essentially, the thing with the movie, too, is that balcony scene here about, that really harkens back to some of these other super, used to be DC's game. Now it's really Marvel's game. I thought Thor was good. I thought X-Men First Class was terrific. But this, I just don't get it. And you know what? Martin Campbell, who's the director, I like Martin Campbell. He's a good action director. Casino Royale and, you know, even the Zorro films, right?
CGI to manufacture little crystal tears as they're summoning up their feelings for protecting the fate of the earth. It's very hard.
That's true. No,
It's very hard.
It's true.
It's very hard. I mean, the thing that I kept thinking is I never realized until I saw this film that the Green Lantern is really an action figure that should be played by, like, say, Susan Powter or somebody, because it's all about like channeling willpower. Because did you know that green light? See, I never read the comic books. I know you got them all as originals when you were a kid, but
Spider-Man.
yeah, I didn't know that green light was like the power of willpower, and it just made me think like a Jillian Michaels or like a Dr. Phil could just really tear into that role.
You mean so they would use the power of will to do what? To help
it's all they
mankind?
talk about is willpower, and if you have this conduit of willpower, I really think that this is something that could be moving with. I mean, you could sell books.
You know what? It's like The Secret.
Yeah, it's almost exactly like The Secret.
It's like The Secret. Here's the thing with The Secret. I don't understand this. By the way, now we're going off into a whole other thing, and then we'll talk about Super 8. I don't get The Secret. The Secret basically tells you if you wish anything, you can have it. And so everybody comes on there. They read The Secret, and all they want is like something material, like a car.
I know,
You know,
it's true.
or a trip, or
what
a lot of money.
What you should wish is to fly to another planet
Oh, you
and
should wish
then
for
rescue the
happiness.
world from evil.
Stupid
Happiness
secret.
isn't tangible.
Huh?
It's not tangible.
This is getting way too out there into the ether for our audience. Look at me. All right, so buy, rent, or burn. Now, Green Lantern, buy, rent, or burn. What do you say, Amy Nicholson?
You know what? If you had asked me before I saw the movie, I would have said burn, but I'm going to go with buy. I'm going to go with buy just because, A, to make you mad, and B, because I really think that Ryan Reynolds is onto something here. And he actually brings a real human to a comic book film. And I wouldn't mind seeing him get another one, especially if we're going to see Mark Strong, who we didn't really mention, get to really unveil himself as a villain.
Who's good in it?
He's fantastic in it.
Yeah.
He's good at being evil.
That's true. So
Yeah.
you are giving, it's funny because we have two completely different opinions on Ryan
Everything
Reynolds. I think the
in
guy is
life.
just totally smug
Yeah.
and self-absorbed, and no matter what he does, he just is. Somehow that guy
I think you're
has
just
no-
threatened.
You hate all guys.
You're just
you hate all
threatened.
guys who any
Yeah.
girl might like.
Exactly.
It's your
That's not
jealousy
true.
and your hatred.
You just
and
like said that
your
just to say that.
loneliness and-
Give me 3 other examples of that. You have none. Okay, you're giving.
Ashton Kutcher. You like him or hate him?
Oh, I hate that guy.
I'm just saying.
Okay, give me somebody else. I mean, who's like handsome? I'm not threatened by handsome film actors.
McConaughey.
Huh?
Matthew McConaughey.
Everybody
Sam
hates Matthew
Levine.
McConaughey. I mean, come
How
on.
about Sam Levine?
Everybody hates Sam Levine. I mean, come on.
Hey!
Oh,
Here in the audience.
What? He's here? Sam Levine? All right, so you give Green Lantern a buy.
A buy. I think it's a quirky little film, and I want to see it do well.
All right, I give it a rent. It's really more of a Brent, but I will give it a rent. It's like a burn rent.
You gave it a burn.
Oh, I gave it a burn. I give it a burn. I forgot what I gave it.
Did I
Change your
convince
mind.
you?
Huh?
I just convinced you to upgrade.
Oh, yeah, exactly. She
Yeah,
convinced me. to
wow, that's
upgrade
pretty
it.
impressive. You
I know,
convinced
really.
the upgrade is
I mean, it's,
So
all
you're,
right,
you're sticking with burn.
I'm sticking with burn.
All right, great.
There it is. All right, Green Lantern. So next is Super 8, which of course came out last week, and that is a new film from J.J. Abrams, writer-director J.J. Abrams. And this film, as you can see from the one sheet, and look at the nebula, the galactic star field that Corey put it on. Look at that.
That's a Windows wallpaper.
That's not a Windows wallpaper. Look at that.
Wow, a lot of work done to that.
On this show, we spare every expense, as it turns out. Super 8, if you don't already know, is J.J. Abrams' homage to the Spielbergian fantasies of the early 80s, including E.T., and one of my all-time favorite films, Close Encounters. And the movie is about a group of kids who want to make a Super 8 film, and in the process of that, they wind up witnessing Zapruder-like a train crash that winds up unearthing this crazy monster that I will not talk about, because if you haven't seen it, I want you to go see it. Let's take a look at a clip. We'll tell you what we thought.
How am I supposed to be a zombie?
Pretty much just be a lifeless ghoul with no soul, dead eyes, scary. Did you ever have Miss Mullen?
For English?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like her, but hungry for human flesh. Like she wants to turn somebody into a zombie. Because that's kind of what zombies do.
Okay.
Oh my god, yeah, that's really good. Not bad.
Really?
Really.
What is this? Look at this. What are you drinking?
How come?
This is the thing that your mom called sustenance.
What?
Wow.
What the?
She called it God's water, not sustenance. Please, get it right. What? Don't pick that up. Pick that up.
Yeah?
Well, show it to what are you
Am I
drinking?
taking orders from you?
Yes.
It's a Negro Modelo, and it's wonderful.
She's getting drunk on the show. Everyone, give her a hand.
You're
She's getting
leading.
drunk on the
This is
show.
the second co-host in a row who drinks when they get near you. What's going on?
I think there's a pattern.
Wade was a
I believe I'm very nice as a co-host. I make them feel welcome. I say, just follow me. I'll tell you where to go. You're doing a great job. I feel I'm very good. Right?
No, you're lovely, and you match the wall.
By the way, that light tower almost fell on me 4 weeks ago.
Check it out on YouTube.
Check it out on YouTube as the light tower almost fell on me and LAFCA President Brent Simon. Let's hope that doesn't happen this week. Anyway, regarding...
Tethered now. It's all.
Look, it's actually tethered to the wall, which means that this week when it falls, it'll take the wall with it.
Yeah.
Which is just
all good.
fantastic. Okay, so when it comes to Super 8, JJ has taken a laundry list of 80s emotional, cultural, cinematic touchstones, and he sort of kind of deftly created his own work, which kind of winds up being the best thing and the worst thing about it. My issue with Super 8, which I think is a good film, and I think JJ is a good filmmaker, is that, you know, the movie can read the notes, but it can't make the music. It's like when you have all these disparate influences, and you wind up putting it into a work that is sort of your own, can you really make it sing, right? Can you really make it into its own original work as opposed to being something that just takes all these other influences really well and puts it into one film?
Right.
And I don't know that JJ can do that. I think JJ did a better job, and I didn't dislike Super 8, which, by the way, I forgot the rating I gave it. Someone tell me? I think that JJ did a good job putting the film together. It's very well done. He used a lot of collaborators that he used before, like the composer Michael Giacchino is very good. Good score. The kid cast, they're all very good, and the main kid even reminds you of Elliot from E.T. But ultimately, I think that the film is so wedded to a time and a place that I don't know that it really was daring or original enough to be its own thing. You know, when I think of, and then we'll get your thoughts on it, but when I think of filmmakers who are very driven by their influences, I think of someone like Tarantino, where Tarantino obviously is almost a slave to his influences, but somehow he makes films that take those influences and and makes a great film out of all of it. I love all of his films. Even Inglourious Bastards, which Sam Levine was in. Inglourious Bastards, Sam Levine was in that. Wow.
I think you watched it right.
Huh?
Never mind.
He was in the trailer.
He was in the trailer. Glorious Bastards.
That's correct.
So what I'm saying is that Tarantino is a guy who's very wedded to his influences, but yet he takes those and he makes very singular, great films. Whereas J.J., I feel, is also wedded to those influences when it comes to Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and he makes films that are slick and fun and entertaining and basically fine, but I don't know that they're really going to last. I don't know that they really emotionally hit you the way the Spielberg films that he loved hit you.
Well, I mean, here's the big difference, I would say, between like him and Tarantino, which is that Tarantino cobbles together things he loves, but then subverts them. Whereas J.J. Abrams is doing an homage to a man whose work he loves, Steven Spielberg, with Steven Spielberg on as producer. So he's basically just trying to mimic his idol, and I don't feel like he has the freedom, or even would want the freedom, to take a step back and really look at what that genre of films is all about. You know, I mean, my opinion on Super 8 is that if any other director besides J.J. Abrams had made this, and if they had done it with anything else but this like blanket pattern of like hype and secrecy, I'd come out of Super 8 being like, oh, that was a totally fine little film. You know, like if Adam Sandler had directed Super 8, I would have been like, nice work, Adam Sandler, you're going to be a fine director someday. But J.J. Abrams comes out, and it's this like juggernaut, and there's all this hype about it, and I walk out feeling a little bit underwhelmed. The parts never add up to the whole. I mean, I'm sure you know the story about how the script even came together.
You know, I have to say, I have to name drop my J.J. Abrams story, which I've said before. I went to junior high school with J.J.
You went to junior high school with J.J.?
I did.
What's his yearbook photo like?
Big, poofy Jew hair.
That's the first time anybody's asked that question, because you've told us about it 5 times.
I know.
And nobody's asked a great question.
Exactly. You know what? I actually, that's a really good point about how Tarantino takes his influences and subverts them, whereas J.J. just sort of has somehow synthesized it and turned it into the same thing.
He's a mimic.
Just done by him.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a really good point. You know, I liked Star Trek more because what he did with Star Trek is he walked a really fine line with that film too, which is that he took Star Trek and he made it something that the older crowd, the old Star Trek fans like myself, would actually like, but the younger fans could think like it's their Star Trek.
Yeah.
They can own it as their own, whereas I can like it for what it is too. You know, here, I don't know that he did that. And to speak to your point, I think that the marketing of this film was a little risky because they don't tell you what it's about really. They don't show you the monsters, so it creates this mystery that the movie may not really live up to. And I think part of the reason they did that was because they worked with Cloverfield and whatever, but also if they had gone out and said, here's a movie that's a throwback to 80s films, then anybody born after 1985 is not going to be interested.
Exactly. I mean, and I find the weird thing about Super 8 and about Cloverfield is that just based on the secrecy of the trailers, if you had to guess what the movie was about and like write it down on a piece of paper, after you saw it, you'd read it and you'd be exactly right. Like there's all this mystery, but you can actually predict everything that the movie is. You know, you don't know what the monster looks like in Super 8, but you know exactly that it's a film about a group of kids and that it has this homage to Super 8 film and filmmaking and retro culture. The only thing that you're lacking is an actual look at the monster. And the monster is really ridiculous. So you walk out feeling like the big surprise that you've been promised was nothing. I think he's really undercutting himself with this whole hype machine.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So the monster from Super 8 was fine. But the gigantic lint monster from Green Lantern, who looks like drier lint with a face, you like that? That was great.
No, I don't like the Super 8 monster. I think the Super 8 monster was just all knobs and scales, and you couldn't figure out what was coming out of where.
I actually agree. Yeah. I really do. Actually, that monster was not worth it. What is that? Huh?
Our British viewers might need a clarification.
Well, they can get at the source.
I didn't say that. He said that. Don't look at me. I have nothing to do with the show.
Aren't you British? I thought you were British.
Oh, yes, I am.
I thought you were British and lost
yes,
your accent.
I am. Yeah. Actually, it's funny when you look at the film. What I did like about it is that it reminds you, if you're of a certain vintage, it reminds you that back in the day, making a little movie when you're 15 years old was really hard.
Yeah.
Like everything you did was really special because you had to steal away at night and wait 3 days for the film to get developed, and you had to splice it yourself, and the sound was terrible, and the edits were horrible. You know, it's like it really became this thing that was like really important to you. Now you pick up your flip phone and in 5 seconds some cat playing pianos on YouTube.
I have to say this because he's freaking out. Now, did you just spoil the movie for Rami, who's in Egypt, our viewer in Egypt? Now he's all mad in the chat room saying you spoiled the movie.
What did we say?
You talked
There's
about...
a monster.
You talked about the monster.
And he's
Was that
ugly.
not known?
Yeah,
Everybody in the chat room's telling him it was no, and he's swearing to God nobody knew that.
Was it like Richard Simmons?
You
Is
have,
that the
you have
thing?
completely ruined
There's a
his
train
movie.
crash and Richard Simmons comes out.
You have
Oh,
completely.
everybody dies. Be sure to let him know.
Okay. Everybody
Oh,
does.
look at that! You gave it away.
So therefore, I'm just
He's fighting
saying.
for democracy over there.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys.
why are you seeing movie? Why are you seeing stupid movies? Why are
You guys, he's fighting for democracy, and
you
you guys giving away spoilers. That's all we're saying.
Jesus Christ!
Just watch out for like the really awesome unicorn knife fight. It's amazing.
Unicorn knife.
It's beautiful.
Don't give that away. I love that unicorn knife.
All right. Anyway.
All right, so Super 8. Now, I personally cannot remember what grade I gave it, but what grade do you give it? Buy, rent, or burn? I can't. I don't know what it is. I
Well,
can't.
who's got the
It
breakdown?
might have been a rent.
I'm gonna guess Rent.
Oh, we both.
Oh my God. Well, now we see how legit this is. Which
Exactly.
Or rent. It's
Oh,
rent.
we're both renting. We're both renting Super 8.
Yes.
means you would wait till it comes out of theaters, see it at home.
And pretend it was directed by anybody else. Dennis Dugan, who does all the Adam Sandler films, would be a
Dennis
great
Dugan. Dennis Dugan is the worst comedy director on the planet. There is nobody worse than Dennis Dugan. If you're watching right now, Dennis Dugan, you are the worst comedy director on the planet.
Throw
Honestly.
something.
And the funny thing with Dennis Dugan is that every movie he makes $300 million because it stars Adam Sandler.
And he's a really nice guy. I interviewed him once, and he's very sweet.
If he was really,
It
really
broke my
nice, he would
heart.
take my advice and go away. What? Huh? I'm just saying, I think he's a horrible director.
And human being?
Huh? I've never met him.
All right, fair enough.
He could be a very nice guy and a fine dancer. I have no idea.
If you pretended that Dennis Dugan directed this movie, you'd give it a buy.
By the way, our guest next week, Dennis Dugan. Very exciting.
Actually, a guest critic next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Oddly enough.
Guest critic next
And
week.
he's gonna critique the movie that you produced.
Oh.
You see, that's not fair. You know, people always say, can I say something before we get on to Conan O'Brien Can't Stop? People always say that, you know, oh, you critics, you just hate everything. All you want to do is hate, hate, hate. That's a bunch of crap. And Amy, you can speak to this. The fact is that critics see 150 movies a year, which means about, you know, like 450 hours, whatever, a year seeing movies. Now, we're not going to do that for something we don't like. And the fact is that when you see 150 movies a year and 2/3 of them star Rob Schneider, it's like you really get to hate movies. And the fact is that most people see movies so they don't have to talk to their girlfriend for 2 hours. That's really all it is.
Yep.
Hey, honey, let's go see Bridesmaids. Whatever, I'm going to talk to my girlfriend for 2 hours. Let's go see Bridesmaids. To them, it's just a time killer.
I can't
To
believe
them,
you're
it's just a
single. I
time
just can't
killer.
believe that you don't have a woman in your life with that
It's
attitude.
just
Hard
a
to believe.
time killer for most people, but critics love movies. That's why it's so depressing when you see crappy movies. So it's not like we're haters.
No,
Amy, bail me out.
I'll bail you out a little bit. One, I think you should get a nice girl someday and maybe take her to a movie because you care. Another thing, I think critics go through waves. I think we start out loving movies, go through a long period of hating movies, and then the perilous part is when you just start liking movies just because. Like maybe me and Green Lantern, just because you're desperate to like something.
See, that's
the hollowness.
Well, here's the thing. I think I mentioned this in a previous show, and then we'll get on to Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. There's almost two ways to critique movies. One is like critique like a real movie. Like you go see a real movie, and is it good or bad? Then you go see a studio movie where the curve, where that grading curve is somehow down here. And it's like, if it doesn't suck, it's good.
It's true.
You know, and that's really not a reason to, like, when I saw X-Men, I thought that was a terrific movie. I liked that movie. It was a good movie. When I saw Thor, I thought, all right, it didn't suck. It was good, and that makes it like, oh, it's really good. So we wind up grading on these curves.
Yeah, the scale just starts to get all weighted down with different things.
And then what will happen is we'll see like a 3-hour documentary on Appalachian throat yodeling, and we'll be like, wow, that's fantastic, because that's like a real movie to us. You know? So it's a whole different, it's a crazy thing being a critic. In fact, I quit. Quit right now. So, all right, so now let's move on to Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. Now, Conan O'Brien Can't Stop is a very funny documentary about Conan's 32-city legally barred from appearing on television tour, which he embarked on after he was unceremoniously dumped from The Tonight Show after only 7 months. And what I liked about this movie is that director Rodman Flender, he shoots 149 hours worth of material just on the tour. And what's great about it is that it doesn't really have much to do with before or after. It really is this sort of snapshot in time between Conan's past and his future, where he finds a way to sort of process the anger that he went through after being dumped from The Tonight Show by really doing the only thing he knows how to do best, which is entertain people. And it's just all about being behind the scenes with him and his head writer and Andy Richter and seeing him go from city to city. And sometimes he'll let that one little bitter, angry, resentful comment kind of slip out. But it's really not a movie, and this is Flender who did a very good job editing it. It's really not a movie that is trying to impress you or try to convince you that Conan is just angry and horrified and bitter and just filled with recrimination. He sort of lets it kind of come out slowly, so the accumulation is that he still kind of harbors some resentment. And I like the fact that he did that. And we'll take a look at a clip and you'll get a sense of what it's about.
Usually I'm at a certain weight, and then when I went off TV, there was a period there of just like cheese, popcorn. Hello? Job? Television job?
I'm really angry at times. Sometimes I'm so mad I can't even breathe. If there's ever been a time in my life to just say, to hell with it, it's now.
It started out as a small idea. What if I just go out there and put on a show for them?
My own show again? I can't wait to have my own show again.
Let's push this crowd back. Everyone give me some room. Get these people back. No photos.
Should I be worried that we're opening in a town where nobody lives? Walk it down. Let's do it. This is a cool opportunity for me. This is my opportunity to tell you who I am, how I grew up, and how I came to be. Do you want to hear this story?
The one thing you realize from watching this film is that Conan, is incredibly talented. He's so quick and so clever and so funny. And he's just quick and clever and funny just off the cuff. When you spend 149 hours shooting somebody, you're going to get a sense of what they're really like. In that length of time, you just can't hide it. And you know that Conan is, again, he's funny and he's quick and he's sarcastic. And the way he treats his staff is obviously there's a lot of kind of those sarcastic jibes, like especially against his assistant, Sona, who's like this hard-working, put-upon assistant who frankly would probably like wither and cry at Conan's jabs if they weren't so darn funny. But, you do get a sense that he really is kind of in his own way, kind of a warm, nice guy. This is just sort of who he is. He has a certain, even though he's from Brookline, Massachusetts, he does have a certain Midwestern charm and humbleness about him, and I like the scenes that humanized him, where he was amazed that this is the first time in his career that people actually paid to see him, and that he was sort of humbled by that. And so the film really goes a long way to sort of giving you a sense of where Conan was between the time that The Tonight Show ended and when his TBS show started. And you also get a lot of great music. There's a lot of great cameos from musicians like Jack White. Eddie Vedder sings Baba O'Reilly, which is great. And it's just a terrific film. It's a terrific documentary. And so I'm going to give that because, Amy, I love the Conan. Mike loves the Conan. Right, Mike?
I like Conan.
Okay, there you go.
Although we were, our story, hold on, microphone on. Our story with Conan is we were both at Later with Greg Kinnear. Me and Mark were, and we were taking over for Conan. That's our little story. NBC kept saying we were taking over for Conan, and because they were going to fire him. And then Greg decided to do movies. And that's why Conan is a job.
That is true. Early in Conan's run, he kind of came out of the gate a little shaky. And Mike and I were on a show called Later with Greg Kinnear, which is on at 1:35 in the morning, which came on after Conan. And there was somebody that the network had brought in, a terrific guy, whose name I won't mention in case he doesn't want to be mentioned, but he's a really nice guy. He had come in specifically, although we weren't really told this, at least not at my level, he came in specifically to oversee the potential transfer of power between Conan and Greg. And then what happened was Greg decided to pursue film. He decided to leave the show, and then the rest is history. So basically, the reason why Mike and I are not working on The Tonight Show right now, or at least the TBS show, let's say.
I was working on The Tonight Show. I went from The Tonight Show to Kinnear.
Oh, now who's name
Leno
dropping?
Tonight Show.
Now who's name
First
dropping?
year.
Good move.
Yeah.
Where are you now, Mike? Where's Mike Rotman now?
All right.
Good night, everybody.
I have my own network. People.
Oh,
I don't need NBC.
Oh, them's fighting words. All right, so Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. It's a terrific documentary. And by the way, I'm not just saying that because the director, Rodman Flender, is coming on in 2 weeks. I'm saying that because it really is.
Yes, we'll have the director on, so please tune in 2 weeks as well.
Yes, that's right. So I give, this one I do remember because it was an unqualified like. So I will give it a buy. Woo! For Conan O'Brien Can't Stop. And I just like that film a lot. Do you like Conan O'Brien?
He's all right. I like redheads.
What?
He's all right?
He's tall.
Yeah.
You like tall redheads.
I like tall redheads.
All right.
So check
All right.
and check. That's
All right.
fine.
Another tall. Now we're all waiting for more tall redhead names that
Yeah.
you like.
So who's your hall? So who's your hall pass? You know, like they have the hall pass where if you have any.
It's kind of Michael Rappaport.
Rappaport?
I know it's a little weird.
All right. Just from Super. And,
yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
Is he a redhead?
Yeah, he's a tall redhead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Boy, the things you learn.
All right, moving along.
Wow, moving along quickly, Michael Rappaport. All right, so that's this weekend in movies, folks. Yeah!
Woo!
All right, now here's the thing. We're only about 1/20th into the show. Because you have a big show.
Move us along.
Colin Hanks is here later on, folks. Colin Hanks. Talk about his documentary. Look at that. Wake up, Colin. You want a beer? Colin, want a beer?
Yeah, sure.
Colin. Get
Where
that.
am I?
Get
We
that.
talked about Green Lantern. I got a lot of stuff on Green Lantern.
He's got a lot of great.
Got some material. I really like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's a great guy. I look forward to talking about Ryan Reynolds.
All right, is it too late to cancel Colin Hanks? Is Colin here yet? All right, so we got the Colin Hanks coming. We got Cutting the Cord coming. Parental Guidance coming.
Holy cow! Let's speed this up.
Let's speed this damn show up. Let's do the news with Chad Gator. Chad, say hello to Amy Nicholson.
Hi, Amy.
Hi,
How
Chad.
you doing?
Lovely. Nice to see you.
You just caught me relaxing here. I'll just get rid of this. Sorry.
Sounds like you two have something in common.
Oh, Amy and I, we're peas in a pod.
How come everything Chad says is funny? I don't understand how that can be. It's unbelievable. It doesn't matter what he says. All right, so Chad, what's happening in the news?
Oh, I've got news for both of you. So get ready. A lot of the major movie studios are passing on Comic-Con this year. This is due to what is perceived as the uneven promotional benefit of big, splashy, expensive Comic-Con presentations. Even great receptions and buzz at the convention doesn't always translate into box office dollars. The studios that are taking a pass on Comic-Con this year include Warner Brothers, Disney, DreamWorks, and the Weinstein Company. Harvey Weinstein couldn't be reached for comment as he was too busy wrestling a bag of Sour Patch Kids away from a small child.
You know, I mean, honestly, Amy, seriously, can somebody name for me a film that really materially benefited? I don't just mean like 5 seconds of buzz in a 24-hour news cycle. I mean really benefited from Comic-Con.
I don't think you can, because the thing is, Comic-Con is such a distilled group of geeks and geek affiliates that all those people are going to buy a ticket to your movie anyways if they wanted to. And they don't go home and spread word. And if anything, they want to be the first geek to say that it doesn't look that cool. I think people are getting more bad buzz out of Comic-Con than they've been getting good buzz.
That's the thing, and it depends too on the timing. It's like, if the timing is right and you get the stars to show up, that's key. But, you know, is Robert Downey Jr. going to show up to talk about, you know, Sherlock Holmes 2 or The Avengers when he doesn't want to go to San Diego and do that crap?
Does anybody want to go to San Diego for anything?
No, they really don't.
They really don't.
You know, I mean, last year I know that like Tron was a big thing last year. They snuck like 20 minutes of Tron. Didn't help Tron.
No, it didn't help anything. I mean, Comic-Con, you're just preaching to the masses already. And I mean, for one, I'm actually kind of excited that Comic-Con might be dying off a little bit, because I just feel like geek culture has ruled the movies for the last 2 years, and everybody's been praying to the almighty geeks and trying to get the geek dollars. But if we've seen anything, we've seen that geeks aren't actually buying tickets to movies. They're probably downloading them illegally. So I don't see why we care so much about geeks. I think we should make movies for other people.
Well, that's the thing. It's like what the studios, for some reason, don't quite understand is that they are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to cater to an audience that is increasingly less interested
and
in
that
seeing
doesn't
their
have
movies.
girlfriends to buy a ticket for.
Right, and the thing is that it's not like you then entice them by spending more money on a film. If we just spend $700 billion on a film, we'll get the geeks to come. They're just not. It's just, it's over.
I think the studios and the geeks have been in like this abusive relationship where the more the studios give them of like their budgets and of their time and of their first sneak reviews and interviews and everything, the less geeks care. You give a geek too much and the geek turns sour.
You know, as they say, geeks giveth and geeks taketh away.
Who said that?
Jesus.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
I just want to know if geeks are cool now, then who do the football players beat up? Seriously.
That's true. Who are
It's
the
cool to be a geek now, right? That's,
Each other?
Probably
like,
probably
that's
no.
all there is. There's no such thing anymore as a web series or anything where it's not. It's like, we're girl geeks. I'm like, yeah, I know. Every single web series is girl geeks.
Yeah, I find myself
get it.
apologizing for making fun of geeks because then I have to say, oh, not that I'm not a geek, but the truth is maybe I'm not a geek.
Right.
Maybe I could
Well,
care
I'm an
less.
old school geek, which means I got the shit kicked out of me in high school. I wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to be a geek. I got the crap beat out of me because I was a computer video game.
That's
just
a dork, Mike.
Oh, really? Geeks don't get beat up?
What's the difference between a geek and a dork?
Hey, I used to program BASIC on a Commodore PET. I'm saying that's a geek.
That
What's
is
the
a
next- what's the
hardcore
next
geek.
news story?
All right, Chad, what else you got for us?
Warner Brothers will begin offering on-demand movies in China. It will be the first national pay-per-view and video-on-demand platform in China ever, offering all the latest Hollywood films to their subscribers, such as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, or as it is known in the Chinese translation, Harry Potmaker and the Dishonorable Graveyard.
I give that movie a buy. I love that film. You know, we were just talking about this with Cars 2. You know, the WB, they smell money. That's it. You know, the thing with China is that they're a huge emerging market. They have a very antiquated cable system that they're trying to upgrade into fiber optics and digital and whatnot. And now it's a huge undertaking because, again, you start in the big cities and then you go into little towns. But there's 1 billion people. But slowly, they're doing it. You know?
Yeah, well, what I find interesting is China has a limit on the number of Hollywood films that you can import in a year, and I think it's 20.
It's 20, yeah.
It's 20, and so I wonder if this is going to be an interesting way for other studios to jump on Warner Brothers' bandwagon and get around that tariff.
Well, you know, Chris Dodd, I mean, part of this is because Chris Dodd went there and he made a big speech, and you wonder if the Chinese government will start loosening those standards, maybe 20, maybe now it's 30.
Well,
Because the whole idea for the Chinese government, if you get those people to clamor for digital lines in their homes, and you build them bigger theaters, they're going to want to see more big American product. And by the way, God love them for that, because do you really want to see Green Lantern anywhere, let alone China? I mean, these movies are terrible. Why? Huh?
Well, does that mean if they become a huge market, we're going to start seeing like geek Chinese blockbusters? We're going to be catering towards Chinese geeks? Because I hear they have like amazing cell phone technology, and they're just really into everything.
Oh, they do.
They do.
In Japan too.
They do.
Awesome. Huh?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I want to see a movie about a superhero and his cell phone.
A superhero and a cell phone?
Yeah.
He could just like text 1,000 words a minute. Were you texting during the film last night, by the way? I thought I saw you texting.
I was not texting. I was just twittering. There's a difference.
You're twittering during the movie.
You were fist pumping during the movie.
I was fist what?
You were fist pumping.
Like go Ryan Reynolds?
I was
no,
so bored.
like at the ceiling, like why God, why?
No.
That's
No,
exactly
here's what I was doing during Green Lantern, and then don't cut to Chad getting bored, because I know Emily likes to do that. And don't, Chad, you stay right there. I'm going to tell you what I was
I
doing.
don't think
Green
Chad's
Lantern.
inside that thing.
Understood.
So
Very proper.
I was so bored at this terrible movie. I was like this. I was just like this. And I was just, I mean, come on, this thing's so horrible. I can't take. And then what you were referring to was that I was so bored. At one point, am I still mic'd, by the way? Yes. Oh, yeah. At one point, a character waves goodbye, and I waved back. I mean, he was waving at me.
Don't the publicists? Now the publicists are usually there, right? They
Well,
let
they're
you
not
in,
staring at me.
But I mean, when I've gone with you to these screenings, they're not too big. They're smaller.
No.
theaters.
Well, this is Green Lantern.
Oh, okay.
This
so
was
the big theater.
at the Man's Chinese.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm saying, like, our publicists kind of going, you don't want to tip your hat that much to them. Like, I hate your movie.
First of all, the publicist doesn't give two S's what I think about Green Lantern, because they've already spent $150 million making it, another $150 marketing it. They don't care what bitter old Mark thinks.
I would feel
Secondly,
bad. Yeah.
bitter old Mark sits in the back of the room like the evil kid on the school bus.
I really do.
So they can't see you.
No, because nowadays, and then we'll move on to Chad, the third story. Nowadays, they have the theaters, as you know, where we can lift up the armrest. So if I lift, I'm 6 feet. So if you lift up a couple armrests, lay out there.
And cuddle,
Lay out there and watch When in Rome. There's no other way to watch When in Rome. These are terrible films. All right, Chad, what do you got for us?
I've caught you spooning with Wade like that. It's really sweet.
Now the truth. Oh, so that's the truth. You got a little tip? That's why he's not here anymore? All right, moving on.
Mark, I wasn't bored at all.
Thank you, Chad. Validation from Chad.
I loved it. Okay, back to the news now. The Oscars are changing the number of Best Picture nominees again. Now, instead of 10 nominees, there will be a variable amount of them, between 5 and 10, and a film will only get nominated for Best Picture if it receives first place votes on at least 5% of the ballots cast.
Chad?
Yes?
Chad?
Yes?
And you're laughing because you said something funny?
No. I couldn't think of any jokes for this story, so I figured if I just started laughing, you wouldn't notice.
Didn't work.
No, it sure didn't. I won't be doing that again.
Cross that one off the list.
Where's that beer? Where's the beer? Where did the beer go? My only friend.
That's exactly what your mom used to say.
Oh, unbelievable. All right, so here's the thing. This is actually the most important story of the week because it finally acknowledges that movies suck. Here's the Academy acknowledging that movies suck because they are no longer obligated to nominate The Blind Side for Best Picture.
Well, I mean, they're just tweaking the ratio because the thing is, 2 years ago they had 5 movies, or 3 years ago they had 5 movies nominated, and everybody knew it was really a race of 2. And last year they had 10 movies nominated, and everybody knew it was really a race of 2. So at least they're saying at least 5% of people had to like something, but even 5% is pretty small. It's still going to be just a horse race of 2.
Well, they had done a study where they went back and recalculated all the nominees from the last 2 years with this new system, and the last couple of years, and they found that it was somewhere between 5 and 8 would have been nominated, never 10. Only between 5 and 8 would have gotten that 5% to be nominated in 2008, 2009, whatever years they used.
Well, it just makes you look bad if you're Little Winter's Bone and everybody knows you're not going to win. You're just that kid.
Well, but here's the thing is that to me, it's less a function of whether you're going to win, and it's a function of, are the films that are nominated good enough? Whether you win or not is sort of okay, Winter's Bone's not going to win, but it was a very good film. That's a terrific film. And so the fact that that was nominated in a 10-picture year, I can buy that. But the whole thing will be an interesting referendum on the system because if there are years where there's only 5 movies nominated for Best Picture, you're telling the world that we only made 5 films, that only 5% of we can't even get more than 5 films to be acknowledged by 5% of the Academy. That's how terrible our films are.
I think it'd be interesting if they even took away the 5 gap. What if it was 3? You just know that only 3 people were able to muster that much support.
It should be 10. I mean, it should be 10.
Maybe it should be 20.
Because
then we'd have more things to talk about. Yeah.
Well, no, you know what? No, it's true because, when Inception it was
Dark Knight
was the one that sort of triggered this whole thing. The Academy
which wouldn't have won in the first place anyways.
Oh, it's a terrific movie. I mean, who doesn't love Dark Knight?
No, nobody, but it wouldn't have won anyways.
But that's not a reason to rejigger the system that acknowledges that really there's usually only 5 good films a year, and now that you've padded it out to 10, most of the time, it's not a function of that they're not going to win. It's a function of it's just filler. Here's 3 filler choices that really aren't that great, but we got to nominate 10. It really shouldn't be like that. You should be nominated because you deserve it.
Well, but what's Harvey Weinstein going to do when he's really pushing a film and it's not even one of the 8 that's nominated? He's going to go nuclear.
The thing with Harvey is that, look, we can talk about Harvey forever, but I think that ultimately Harvey will benefit because nobody pushes a film like Harvey. Harvey can get 5% for, Scream 4. The guy pushes films so hard.
Oh, he should try.
Yeah, Bob and Harvey should try to get, yes. Best Picture, Scream 4. No, but you know what? I think that Harvey's, on balance, has been great for movies. I really do. I mean, he's got his problems, he's got his issues, he's Harvey Scissorhands, all that stuff, the hardball tactics. But ultimately, he's been good for film. And I think you're going to find that in a lot of these, 5, 6, 7, 8 nominated picture years, that a bunch of them are going to be Harvey films. They just are. Because he loves quality films. I think he's been good for the film industry. So, Chad, there you have it. What do you think, Chad? It's a good news week.
It's a great news week. I love it. I'm going to go find a straw.
Yeah, Chad Vader, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
There's the news. All right, now we got to move it along.